How many people have ever been to Hawaii? Just out of curiosity. Has anybody ever been to the Valley of the Temples? It's an amazing place because you go to this, it's basically a cemetery, right? But the amazing thing is that every major religion in Hawaii has its own section. And so they have a Buddhist section and a Catholic section and a Shinto section. And it's a really beautiful place because not only can you feel the consciousness and spirituality of the place, but they have this amazing Buddhist temple. And when you walk on the grounds, you literally, the consciousness is tangible, right? It was amazing. It was really peaceful. I also visited Pearl Harbor, which I had never been to before. And that was a very solemn and sacred experience. And we went to the Arizona Memorial, and we went to the USS Missouri battleship. We had a good time, but also very serious and reflective and just honoring the lives of those who have served our country. One of the displays at Pearl Harbor is this huge anchor. And it's the anchor of the USS Arizona. It weighs 19,585 pounds. One anchor for the USS Arizona. Now, I was interested to learn that most ships carry 3 anchors. The first anchor is the regular anchor, and then they have a second emergency, all heck is breaking loose anchor for, if there was a hurricane or something, they need that second anchor. And then they have a third anchor as backup. Right? So you can imagine this ship is carrying 3 19,585 pound anchors. Now I'm going somewhere with this, so stay with me. You ready? My talk today, the title of my talk today is your commitment greater than your resistance? Is your commitment greater than your resistance? And what I know is that we all carry around some anchors. We all carry around anchors of commitment. We all carry around anchors of resistance. And we all carry around anchors of vision for our lives. So I'm going to talk about these 3 anchors of our lives and how they show up as commitment and resistance and vision. So the first anchor in our lives is our commitment. And this is the anchor that we use when life gets rough. When we go through a job transition. When we get a diagnosis that may not be our preference. When we transition into or out of relationships. When life seems, the seas of life are rocky and there's a lot of waves, right? And so we sink down our anchor and we sit still, right? If a boat is going through a hurricane, the boat doesn't go with the hurricane. It sinks its anchor down, it stays in one place and allows the hurricane to pass, right? It doesn't go with the hurricane. It stays in place and allows the hurricane to pass. So my question for you this morning is, what are those ideas that are anchors for you? What are the ideas and beliefs that are your anchors when life gets rough? Those things that you know at the very center of your being are true about the universe, that you can trust, that you can rely on, that you can lean on when life gets adventurous. Here's a couple of mine. One of my anchor ideas is that the order of the universe cannot be violated. I believe that at the very core of my being. And what that means to me is I know that there is a pattern, an intelligence, and an order into the universe that can't be harmed, it can't be changed. So when life feels chaotic to me, I throw down my anchor and I stay in one place and I say, this is what I know is true. I know that the order of the universe cannot be violated. No matter what the conditions are, no matter what the hurricane is going on around me, I know that. That's an anchor for me. Here's another one. Everything in my life is good or leading to good. I believe that. That is an anchor for me, that everything in life is good or is leading to good. I was having this conversation with my friends. The friends I went to Hawaii with, we've been friends since 7th grade, like 26 years. And it can be a blessing to have those long-term friends in your life because, boy, they know where you've come from, right? And so we were having this really great conversation about how we have grown and changed since 7th grade and how every step along the way has been necessary to lead to us to where we are in our lives today. Even those places in our lives that looked icky at the time, right? They all led up to this moment. Everything in life is good or leading to good. No matter if I can see it or not, or I can see it or not, that's something I know. That's an anchor for me. So what's your anchor? What do you truly believe without a shadow of a doubt that you hold on to when life goes a little crazy? Maybe you don't have one this morning. So let me give you one that Ernest Holmes uses. Ernest Holmes is the founder of this thing that we call Center for Spiritual Living or religious science or science of mind. And here's an anchor statement that I found from him that I think always moves me. So maybe if you don't have one this morning, you can use this one. I live in the faith that there is a presence and power greater than I am that nurtures and supports me in ways I could not even imagine. I know that this presence is all-knowing, all-power, and is always right where I am. How's that for an anchor? I live in the faith that there is a presence and a power greater than I am that nurtures and supports me in ways I cannot even imagine. I know that this presence is all-knowing, all-power, and is always right where I am. So those anchor principles, those anchor ideas that we carry around with us, those anchors can also be people. Those anchors are the people in our lives who can see who we are in the midst of our challenges, that can know the truth about who we are even when we can't. So these anchor ideas are the ideas and principles in which we place our faith, that no matter the conditions and storms of our lives, we are anchored in truth and truly committed to knowing and embodying that which is within us and is greater than any condition. Greater than any condition in the world. Ernest Holmes goes on to say this: if we believe that the Spirit incarnated in us can demonstrate, shall we be disturbed at what appears to contradict this? We shall often need to know that the truth which we announce is superior to the condition we are trying to change. In other words, if we are speaking from the standpoint of spirit, there can be no opposition to it. When we are speaking from the standpoint of spirit, there can be no opposition to it. What does that mean? That means that in the midst of the changes and challenges and hurricanes of life, we can stand, we can abide, we can stand and abide in our truth. And when we speak from a place of authority, a place of spirit, there can be no opposition to it. For what can be against God? And so if you are speaking from a standpoint of spirit, there can be no opposition to it. So that's the first anchor. Those beliefs that we have in the midst of challenges. The second anchor are our anchors of resistance. These are our old limiting beliefs. Sometimes not even conscious beliefs. Beliefs that people have given us or that we've accepted or that we got so long ago in our past when we were 5 years old that we may not even be conscious of them. But they're still back there operating in our consciousness, right? They're still anchoring us down to our old ways of being, old habits, old beliefs, old ways of being that no longer serve who and what we are. That we're not worthy enough. That we're not worthy of love. That we're not good enough. That we don't deserve abundance. That everything we try will fall apart. Striking any chords for anybody? I'm just talking to myself up here. I'm just letting you know. We have these anchor beliefs that keep us from moving on, that lock us down into place. And we hold on to these beliefs because we have this mistaken belief that they keep us safe. If I can sit in this safe harbor of my ship, I can sit in this safe harbor and not have to move on, then I'm going to be safe. But the truth is, those same fences, those same walls that we build that keep us safe, also keep us locked in. The same walls that we build, that we think are there to keep us safe, are the same walls that lock us in. Especially when they no longer serve us. They keep us in the harbor. They keep us from exploring all the good and the greatness that is out there for us. I have a new appreciation coming back from Hawaii about just how big the ocean is. I think I always knew it in some ways, but when you go to Hawaii and you sit on the beach, suddenly the ocean seems much bigger. And what that meant to me was, as I'm sitting there pondering this, is like how vast our possibilities are. Yeah, we could sit at anchor. We could sit in the bay. We could sit in the harbor and be safe. But we're missing out on the adventure and the vastness of the good that is out there for us. They also tie up our energy, right? Those anchors keep us from expressing God in physical form, as Neil Donald Walsh was talking about this morning. The call of our soul, the agenda of our soul is to have God express itself and be everything that it could possibly be in every form and every experience. And so there's this creative energy that is always flowing in and through and as us. And when we plant our feet and we say no to the universe, I can't move, that energy gets plugged up. It gets stopped up. And as anybody with a backed up sink will tell you, eventually that's going to cost you. That energy keeps coming and it builds up and eventually it's going to go somewhere. Because that creative energy is always flowing in and through us. Ernest Holmes says that no person whose entire time is spent in contemplation of limitation can demonstrate freedom from that limitation. I'm going to say that again. No person whose entire time is spent in the contemplation of limitation can demonstrate freedom from that limitation. So my question is, what are those old anchor beliefs that are holding you down? That you spend time contemplating, that keep you from being free of that contemplation, that keep you from being free of that limitation. We're constantly saying things like, oh, I can't do that, I'm too old. I don't have enough money. Oh, I can't possibly do that. I'm not an artist. Oh, nobody would want me to be a leader because I'm not good enough. We're carrying around these anchor beliefs that may no longer serve who we are. But we have the opportunity and the invitation to pull up that anchor and start again. To practice non-resistance. To go with the flow of life. To surrender those ideas that are no longer serving us. In the Science of Mind magazine in August 1993, it said this: true non-resistance is the surrender of every arrogant attitude of mind to good and to good alone. Those who have made this surrender have found real peace of mind, happiness, and wholeness in the only place it can be found, which is within themselves. So we have the first anchor, which are the beliefs that we hold to be true, that we hold on to when life gets crazy. Second anchor, the anchor that is our limiting beliefs that hold us back, that limit our creative energy, that keep us safe but keep us from growing. And I was interested to know and interested to learn as I was learning about some anchors, is that there's another kind of anchor called a kedge anchor. Kedge. Kedge. It's a kedge anchor. And how this anchor works is, if a ship runs aground or gets stuck, what they do is they throw out the anchor to where they want to go, and then they winch the anchor and it draws the boat where they want to go. Right? So this is like our vision. Our theme this month has been pulled by vision. And so when I saw this thing about the anchor, I was like, oh, that totally makes sense, right? Because a lot of times when we first come into the Science of Mind teaching, we learn about the law of attraction, right? How we can draw the good to us. How we can be magnets for good in our life. And that's good, and that works, and it's not the end. Because it also works the other way. Just as we can have the law of attraction bring us good and flow and energy into our lives, that vision attracts us. That's also the law of attraction. Which means we throw out our anchor where we want to go, we cast our vision where we want to go, and we allow that vision to pull us to it. Also a law of attraction. How do we do this? One of our core beliefs is that we believe in direct revelation. The direct impress of spirit. What does that mean? That means we don't need any intermediary. That anytime we need to know what is in it something for us, we go within. We go within and we ask the question. Sometimes that could look like formal visioning with the 4 steps, right? What is God's vision for me? What do I need to embrace? What do I need to release? Is there anything else? Okay? But sometimes that just means going within, like Neil Donald Walsh was telling us this morning, and saying, what's my soul's agenda in this? Your soul wants to express love, freedom, joy, light, wholeness, balance. That's your soul's agenda. So as we tap into that and we go within and we ask, what's God's vision for this? What's my soul's agenda? We throw out our anchor. We imagine the infinite possibilities, the infinite good that awaits us, and we allow that to pull it towards us. Just like that anchor. So what if every day we started our day by saying, what's my soul's agenda for today? For 30 days. What is my soul's agenda for today? How am I called to be before I do? What is my soul's agenda? That's just as much a vision as that formal visioning process that we teach here, right? We throw out our anchor and allow it to pull us to it. So vision pulls us, inviting us to move forward, inviting us to a new place, a new adventure, to get unstuck. Vision invites us to let go of our point of reference, where we've always been, what we always do, and invites us to journey outside of our comfort zone and demands that we take a risk, raise our anchor, and surrender control of the vessel. I'll tell you, going to Hawaii, outside my comfort zone. Sitting on a plane for 6 hours, outside my comfort zone, right? But you have to cast out that vision, that infinite possibility, and allow it to pull you to it. That ocean of good is so vast. I was reminded of one of my favorite Ernest Holmes quotes this weekend. And you've probably heard this one, especially if you've ever heard me. Principle is not bound by precedent. Sound familiar? But here's the rest of the quote, and I didn't know this. If I had known this, I had forgotten it. Principle is not bound by precedent, and our good is not limited or conditioned by any good that has ever been manifest. Our good is not limited by any good that's ever come before. We should confidently expect a greater good than we have ever experienced, or that we have ever known of anyone experiencing. That's a pretty vast ocean. We should expect a greater good than we have ever experienced. Imagine the most good thing that has ever happened to you and expand it even more. It's greater than any good that anyone has ever experienced. Principle is not bound by precedent. Means that nothing that's come before is limiting to you about what you can be going forward. But I also love this idea that our good's not limited by the good we've come before. As good as we've ever had it, it can be more than that. Do you believe that with me? How do you know what kind of good that you're living in? Well, there's two ways. Are you living in probabilities or possibilities? Are you living in probabilities or possibilities? Here's what probability looks like. Well, I've never really been to Hawaii. That sounds kind of scary. Never been there. I'm going with people I don't really know. So I probably wouldn't have a good time. Sound familiar? Or we could live from a place of possibilities. What if I could go on an amazing trip and have the best time I've ever had or could ever have expected to have? Do you live in probabilities or possibilities? This is probably what's going to happen. Ever catch yourself saying that? But that probability is based on your previous experience. And what we know here at the Center of Spiritual Living is that principle is not bound by precedent, which means no matter what you think it's going to be, it can be even greater than that. And so we live from a place of possibility instead of probability. How's that feel? Big like the ocean. So, what kind of anchors, 19,525 pounds, are you carrying around? What are the anchors that you anchor down into when life gets challenging? What are the anchors that are limiting you and holding you back? And what's the anchor that's moving you forward? What's that greater yet to be? What is that biggest possibility that is true for you right now? I invite you this week to contemplate these things and to grow and expand and celebrate that spiritual principle that always says yes, and so it is. And so I invite you to join me in that consciousness of prayer this morning. So we just take a deep breath. And we just anchor down into that spiritual truth that is at the very core of our teaching, our beliefs, the very core of our beliefs. And that is that God, spirit, love, energy, intelligence, is all that there is. Whatever name you want to give it this morning, I know that it is the fabric of the universe. It is the fabric of creation. It is creation itself. Everything that I see and everything I do not see, everything that I know and everything that I do not know, is simply God expressing God. God meeting God, God knowing God, God expressing and experiencing itself as God. Expressing and experiencing itself as love, knowing and experiencing itself as wholeness, as balance, as beauty, as peace. It is what is true at the very center, the circumference of the universe. At the center of every molecule, every atom, I know that there is this thing which we call God, which is perfect action and perfect order. A peace that passes all understanding, and an abundance that is limitless. I know that this is the very nature of life, and it is the nature of who I am. I am that beauty, that balance, that peace, that wisdom, that grace. All that God is, I am. And what I know is true about me, I know is true for every single person within the sound of my voice, both here in person and online, and those viewing this video at a later time. I know that that divine and creative energy that we call God is right where you are, expressing itself and experiencing itself as you right now. It is that divine order, it is that peace, it is that wisdom that is at the very center of your being, awaiting your attention, awaiting your recognition of it. It is who and what we can ever be, because we are simply created from God, of God, so that God could know itself as God. And so it is from that place of divine wholeness, that divine unity, that I speak my word for and about every single person here this morning and for myself, knowing that that divine and perfect energy is flowing in and through. And as each one of us this morning, I know that wherever there is a perception of lack or need, that lack is filled with the Spirit of God. Wherever there is a feeling that there needs to be balance or abundance or wisdom or wholeness, I know that it is present right here this morning because God is present. And so everything that is needed is present. Whatever it is spoken this morning in the silence of our souls, we speak our word for ourselves, for our community, for our beloveds. And so this morning I also speak my word for Lee Moses, knowing that divine wholeness, divine energy, divine perfection is right where she is. And I speak my word for Lily Brown, knowing that that divine wholeness that is God, that divine energy of love, that divine energy of light that Lily is showing up in every atom of her being, in every cell of her body. There is only wholeness because that is all there can ever be. And so I know that God is expressing here this morning as each one of us. And I am so grateful for this Center for Spiritual Living, this place that reminds me and reminds you of who we are here to be and who we are choosing to be in our lives. That reminds us of those anchors, those beliefs, those core ideas that not only serve us, but also those core ideas that we are ready to let go of this morning. So I simply know that whatever is no longer serving you this morning, no matter what is no longer serving me this morning, I surrender it. I let it go. I lift that anchor and I sail into the infinite sea of possibility that is within me and before me. Knowing that my journey is blessed, that everything that happens on this journey is good or leading to good, I am so grateful. And I release this word into law, knowing that that law, which always says yes, the universe reflects back to me everything that I have placed in the soil of life. And so I simply know and declare that it is so, and so it is.